guests today, Claire Muldoon, Candice Holsworth. Candice, let's talk about parenting. There's an issue here that childless women versus working mothers is going to be a big set to over Christmas. Why is that?
So this is a really good piece that I love to read this morning. It's by Harriet Walker. She wrote it in the Times. And she's talking about the two big viral stories lately. So one was Stella Creasy's tweet about the motherhood penalty, and another was a viral article in the Daily Mail where a woman was disparaging working mums, and she was saying they become very unreliable over the holiday period. And what Harriet Walker has said is, when did our talk about parenting become so negative? She just feels like there's always such a big deluge of stories about mothers not doing it right or doing it wrong. And she said what she thinks is really absent from this debate is no one ever mentions the fathers. So when you're talking about working mums being unreliable, what about working dads? Or when you're talking about the motherhood penalty, where is the dad to look after the children when mum wants to go out to a Christmas party? And I thought it was so astute, and I thought she really made a good point about that.
It's a very traditional, old-school approach, that, isn't it, Claire?
Well, in a way, yes, but also the reason that we do what we are called mothers is because we have mothering instincts, and we are the ones that children want when they're not well. Most of them want their mum, and that's just fact, because that's why the beautiful difference between men and women, fathers and mothers, regardless of how you are in your domestic home, if you're a single parent of either sex, doesn't really matter. But every single parent, whether it be man or woman, brings different things to the table. And I think that's the key here. And I think as women, as working women, I don't think we should get lost in the fact that we have a particularly important difficult role. We are the ones that give birth. We are the ones that are there for our children. We are the ones, as I said, that our children often want not more than their father, but differently from their father. And I think that's key. And I think, all this...
Well, there's many fathers who do both roles very, very well. The children single parents.
As I said, in single parent houses, it doesn't really matter what sex it is, because my kids were brought up with a single mum.
But also it depends what the kids want. It depends what way they gravitate to. And there's no doubt, if you are a parent, it will be the hardest job you ever do in your life. You'll find that out. And Claire, I'm wondering what you were like as a young mum, because I have always watched those older than me and those younger than me, and every time a new set of parents comes along, they always know better than anybody else, than any previous. They cannot be told. You cannot pass them on experience. And for instance, someone like myself, I'm often treated by younger people as if I've never had 4 children, and don't know what it's all about. I actually find people are pains in the backside.
Absolutely.
when they become new parents.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And a lot of the younger parents that I speak to, or I get, they'll say, so what would you do? And I said, well, I'll tell you what I would do. I'd wrap the child up, put it in his cot, walk out the door, close that door. If it cries, leave it. They're so
very
intent.
Controversial.
Intent on monitors.
Who was the nurse? Is it Gina Ford? Was that her name?
Ruth used Gina Ford.
She went very well. She did very well, but she was vilified for advocating that.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
New parents, and I know you've got young children, Candice, and I'm sure you're a wonderful mum, and I'm sure your kids are incredibly happy. Unfortunately, there's a lot of young parents out there that they've got, it's almost like a Ring doorbell attached to the cot.
Well, I agree with you. And, it's always my bit of advice to new parents.
Don't get one.
Sleep training. I was like 6 months old, do the sleep training, you will not regret it.
Yes.
How old are yours?
So mine's 4 and the young one's 2.
Right.
Yes.
And that stays with them for life, that sleep routine. No,
It
does. And I don't care if they're teenagers or they go into being adults or whatever. People who are good at sticking to formulas and routines.
Discipline.
This is very good for them. I'm not a routine person myself. My wife is regimental. She's army-like.
She came from that background.
And that suits her. And I think if you have a form of ADHD or OCD or autism or whatever, that probably suits you very well as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of management, I had 4 under the age of 6, and for me, it was a lifesaver. The fact
Did you ever find out what was causing that?
What, pregnancy?
4 under the age of 6. You did, it was too late, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly.
And did you get sleep?
You've seen my wine bar. Sorry?
Did you get sleep?
Of course I did, Pip. because the children were down, bathed in bed from 6:30 onwards. And do you know what the other best
sounds
thing
like you're
was?
a right military mother.
Well, what do you think? People say if you know, oh, you've got a lovely voice, Claire. You know, did you do that voiceover? Well, you read very, very well. Well, tell the kids that at 6:30 in the morning when the guttural Glaswegian would come out, getting them up for school and out that door. It completely went out the window. Anyway, it's really important. Kids really respond well to that.
It's good for them. We took a flight to South Africa last year. It was a night flight, and it was a dream because they just fell asleep. They were used to going to sleep at a certain time. So they were asleep, they woke up, they had breakfast. It was not a problem at all. And that's because we had that routine. But I promise you, people will just say, oh, they'll sleep eventually, and then they get to about 18 months old and you've had no sleep and it's an absolute nightmare.
And potty training.
People don't know this though. It's something you have to learn as a parent. A lot of the formal advice you get is just useless. It's terrible.
This is why I do not have children and I only have dogs, because the thought of sleep depravity, I mean,
I was always a great believer in Calpol.
Absolutely.
not for them, for me.
Bit too much to knock them out and sleep.
Calpol full strength, none of your sugar-free rubbish either. It has to be full on.
Let's talk about the Christmas lights in Croatia, Candice.
Yes. So this is, it's quite a lovely video. It's a guy called Zlatko Salaj, who has an enormous estate in Croatia called Salaj Land, and he's filled it with 1 million coloured lights, and it's a childhood dream of his to basically make a big winter wonderland, and he lets people...
You're describing it beautifully. There it is. Let's have a look.
So yeah, I mean, he's been doing it since about 2001 apparently. He's been adding so many lights per year. People go
Why
there.
is it so attractive? Because it's got coloured lights. There are green lights, there are blue lights, there are red lights in there, and I know some people only believe in white lights.
Yes.
But I like the whole idea of colours.
Very 1970s kitsch here, Eamonn.
Well, but no problem with that. I still like it. It's very, very nice. Candice, your children are the ideal age for Christmas. It's going to be the most beautiful, magical time for them this year. Do you have a philosophy with Christmas as to how Santa arrives and what Santa does in your home?
Well, we caused a bit of controversy this year because my mum said, because my eldest is starting to become quite literate, you know, he's learning to read and write, and my mum said, so has he made his list for Father Christmas this year? And I said, oh no, he sent him a text message. They had a text exchange, basically, Father Christmas and my eldest son.
Wonderful.
And my mum was not happy with that. She's like, no, you've got to write a list. But I enjoyed it. My husband basically changed my name on his phone, and my eldest son sent video requests for what he would like for Christmas, and I just sent back, as long as you're a good boy.
Can one of you tell me what all this elf on the shelf business is about? Because it seems to be causing...
He wasn't about when I was kids. I don't really know about Elf on the Shelf.
Do you know about Elf on the
Elf on the Shelf? What's that?
Oh, there's pictures, there's videos, there's films, there's... The elf is in all sorts of... Mischievous, naughty places.
And he does a lot of horrible things, but I saw the funniest meme where they had the eaten chicken legs, it looked like, replaced in the shape of the elf shape with the elf hat on. Sorry, everyone. The dog got there first.
When I was young, Santa was brilliant. He would arrive in the house and he would, on the sofa and armchairs, he would have the names of my brothers and whatever on top of the toys that he left. And the thing is, Santa would take the toys out of the box, put it on top of the box, made up, batteries in it, ready to go, right? Beautiful. And it meant that my mum and dad come 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever, didn't have to get up because we came down, everything was there, we played with it.
Santa just wonderful?
7 or 8 o'clock, we'd go up to my dad and say, look, Daddy, Santa got me a tank and he did this and that. Then I married Ruth, and Ruth's Santa would come everything wrapped up with no batteries in anything or nothing made. And this would cause, I would have to write Santa a note and say, Santa, this is not the way you used to do it with us. But Ruth was very traditional in what she wanted, and Christmas became quite miserable then because it meant at 4 o'clock in the morning I had had to be up with, where's that screwdriver, right? I need a screwdriver for this. And we got those AAA batteries. No, those are AA batteries. We've got to get, and a lot of the fun went out of Christmas arriving. But I would just say, if you can write a note off to Santa and say, Santa, please have the toys ready built, ready made, out of the box.
Batteries included. That's the
included.
very
How many
important
homes
thing.
Santa has to visit over Christmas?
Yes, but it's easier for everybody if he does it the way that
He's
he
up
did
his
it
game.
with us. That's
We've got
the
enough
way.
helpers, come on.
Yeah, I mean, who wants
He's
to?
got a whole year to get this one day done.
I do have this sort of phobia about wrapping paper and bows and having to rip open things and look at the waste that there is. I just find it terrible, terrible waste that doesn't have to be
Don't
there.
think about it, you're thinking about it too much.
Yeah, well,
I like the clear up afterwards. Claire, telling porkies, nearly half of us would serve vegans non-vegan food for Christmas dinner. That's a bit cruel.
Is it?
is it?
Is it?
Yeah.
Is
If
it?
you're a vegan, are you being serious?
Do you think
that's
I'd have
cruel,
a
and I think
vegan at my
it's
table?
disrespectful to do that.
Yeah, probably is. But it's
you don't
efficient.
care, do you?
No, I don't care. I would go through my whole life telling little lies like that and working little shortcuts like that. And my kids would be oblivious to it, and everybody's oblivious to it. No one knows the difference.
No one's born
Nobody's
a vegan.
harmed.
No one
Nobody
is
was
born a
hurt.
vegan. No one wakes up when they're 3 and it says, oh, I think I'll be a vegan today.
But for those people that are vegans, Candice, if they were eating what they then realised was real turkey and not tofurkey,
Awful.
they would be highly offended.
I know. I think I'm one of those people who just accommodates everyone's dietary requirements.
But you do it for your children. I mean, I'm not the vegan thing withstanding, but if one of your children said, oh, I don't like that, would you make them a separate meal?
No.
See? Well,
You can't do that. But I think if it's guests coming to my house, I mean, I'll give them their little quiche if it makes them happy.
in a bid to make their lives easier, a shocking 36 of those surveyed admitted they'd avoid inviting anyone with any challenging dietary preferences to their Christmas dinner / lunch.
Well, I feel sorry. My 21-year-old, great lad, and he hasn't got the best dietary habits, I would say.
Wonder who he takes that after.
Well, I'm just saying, throughout life, he was fed on broccoli and carrots. He was like a reindeer, really. That's
Was he on a vegan diet as well?
Yeah, he would have been on the most nicest of purest things that there would have ever been. And of course, as soon as he got the chance to choose for himself, he dumped it all. But you know, his mother was very insistent that if he got all these good things, this habit would stay with him for life, which it never did. It never did.
He'll go back to it. Lovely Jack will go back to it. He knows which side his bread.
Now,
is buttered.
let's talk about genders. Actually, I'm going to talk about something else before.
What are we going to talk
were to
about?
interview a government minister, but he's decided he's too busy and isn't coming to see us this morning. And he was here to talk about dental surgery. Not a government minister. He was the shadow chief secretary to the Treasury, I think it was. And we were talking
Darren Jones.
We were talking about dentist surgeries. This is an awful situation, and I'm not really going to go on about this because as long as I have been a television journalist, I have been doing interviews about how bad the dental situation is, and you keep suggesting very practical, good ideas, like they should be on an indenture. You should pay for dentists to go through university and then they stay with you for the next 10 years or whatever it happens to be. To me, it's not a big problem. It would be easily solved. 8 out of 10 NHS surgeries are not, Candice, taking on new adult patients.
I know. I don't think I've used an NHS dentist in years. I mean, I just pay for it now because I can get it when I want it. But you really pay for it. And I mean, they charge you obscene amounts of money to get your teeth done.
Well,
and
you
it's
say
always upselling.
you say obscene amounts of money. I know what you're saying, but at the same time, could you fix, a filling in your tooth, or could you, I think it's a pretty expertise-ridden area, and I think it deserves to be paid for.
It is, but they gouge you because they know you're desperate. I mean, whenever I go see the dentist, they're always upselling to me and always picking out little tiny problems in my teeth and saying I could do this or I could do that. And it does make me feel insecure because I care a lot about my teeth, so I end up getting all these extra things and worrying about it. And I do think that would I do that if I didn't go see the dentist as often? I mean, there are a lot of technology now that can do the job just fine.
Claire.
The best thing that you can actually get done at the dentist is a visit, in my view, to the hygienist.
Yeah.
I think if you get that done once a year, then go for your quick checkup, that's fine. And like you, I've not been having an NHS dentist for years, but in order for me to get the children an NHS contract, my private dentist treated them on the NHS up until the age of 18, which was perfect. He was a great dentist, still is a great dentist, really well run, and it's often like the way I would have wanted my community GP to be. He knew all the family, we went together, you know, and you could see what was happening in all the mouths, and it was great. However, it's really sad indictment that a lot of young children now, there was a statistic early on in the year, their first foray into operations, what was it for? Teeth extraction.
Yeah.
That is absolutely appalling.
I don't
and
know.
I blame the parents for this, not the lack of
I
dental
have
care.
no idea how I have any teeth in my head, because when I think of my childhood and the amount of sweeties we got, particularly on Friday we were given pocket money and you went and got sweets, and I mean we're talking bags of sweets.
Gobstoppers.
Everything.
Syrup
Cola
spoons.
cubes, you know, whatever. It was all there. And I'm just surprised if any teeth left in my head.
Yeah.
But as you get older, you realise that funny things happen to your teeth, like they become looser candies. They start shaking, and there's spaces between them, and food catches between them.
And more porous too.
I've seen it this
more
morning,
porous.
Eamonn, sitting next to you.
Yes, I know. I'll take them out and put them in a cup for you here.
What do you make, Candice, of Labour's plans for this, where they obviously say they're going to fund dental practices to provide urgent appointments, but also supervised toothbrushing in schools for 3 to 5 year olds?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a useful thing. Yes, it is a school.
It's
It's a school.
It's not a school's job.
It is a school's job.
It's
A
the
school's
parents'
job to bring you into life, and you've got to accept that there are ignorant, unqualified, almost abusive parents out there who don't have idea. They send their kids to school without being toilet trained.
Yep.
Then they're certainly not going to worry about their teeth if that is the case. I don't see anything wrong with my school setting me standards in life and say, this is the way you clean your teeth, this is the way you tie your tie, this is the way you tie your shoelaces. I don't see anything wrong with that from
Schools
a school.
are there to support and underpin what the primary carer of the child is, the parent, and that's their job. You've got one job as a parent, and that is to parent.
Yeah, well, it's not your job as a parent to teach your child Shakespeare, nor do I think it is the job of necessarily of a school. I'd much rather my kids knew how to clean their teeth and tie their shoelaces than recite Shakespeare.
Yeah.
No one's mentioned Shakespeare apart from you.
Yes, because the job of teachers, I'm talking about in the job of schools, and the things that you're taught in schools aren't necessarily of much use to you, is my point.
Schools can correct for neglectful parenting. I mean, I do know people who, for instance, that school meal that they got, that was the best meal they would have got all day. And there are some parents, it's true, who don't teach their kids proper hygiene at home, and they may need to learn that at school. I still remember we had a teeth brushing lesson when I was about 5 or 6, and I still remember all the lessons from it, like brushing every bit of your teeth. So that stuff does stay with me.
Well, I mean, television stations used to have a role in this when they had a sense of public duty, and then they ditched it all. But do you remember the advert? Up and down, till they're clean and sparkling.
No,
teeth?
I'm too young.
That's why you're having to go to the
Don't you
hygienist.
point at me. No.
That's why you're having.
Stop it.
That's what's wrong with you.
I go to the hygienist because it's best practice.
There was like tufty clubs, how to cross the road and all that sort of thing.
Things with knits in schools, right? Get the knit nurse in, okay? Get the hygienist
But you
into...
get the knit nurse into school. You do all that looking after the kids and their hair, so why can't you
No,
look
what I'm
after their
saying
teeth?
is it's not the school's job to make sure every child has come with their teeth brushed.
But we
right?
could revolutionise
We
things.
can't, no. Look, teachers have got enough to do. As you quite rightly pointed out, there's kids turning up still not even out of nappies. That's a shocking... Teaching staff did not go and get the degrees, did not go and specialise in primary teaching or secondary teaching to teach and mop up
I mean,
rubbish.
as a daughter of teachers, my parents obviously retired, but looking back, I think they would have been horrified if they would have been dealing in supervised brushing.
Of course they would have.
Well, my teachers did a lot of things for us, and I learned a lot of social habits from my teachers, so I don't see the problem. This is sort of quite easy to me. I would hate to have been a knit nurse looking after you. You've got the thickest hair I've ever seen. If you
Well,
got
I never have had knits, Eamonn.
Yeah, well then that's good, because imagine a knit in there. It would take you years to find it, so it would.
It is a bit of a nest, I have to
Yes,
say.
very, very good, very
But I
good.
keep it clean.
Salute to teachers out there and everything you do, and we would have you doing a bit more if we could. Claire and Candice are going to be back.
They do enough. They do enough.
Okay, let's see what the weather's going to be like. But here's Alex Burkett.